Fixing your marriage and your relationship starts in your own mind. Whatever you're thinking about, whatever you assume about your spouse is going to affect the way you think about them and how you feel about them and ultimately how you treat them. So there are 3 steps that we can take in order to affect the way that we think about our spouse, change the way that we're relating to them, and also connect on a deeper level. Assalamu alaikum. This is Haleh Banani, and it's Marriage Mending Mondays. And I want to give you some pointers, some things that I have experienced within the 20 years of helping clients worldwide, how you can improve your marriage. One of the first things that I tell my clients is that you need to practice positive projection. Practicing positive projection means basically having husna dhan, assuming the best of your spouse. Many times I find that clients just assume the worst. They will say, their spouse will tell them a statement. They may be in a bad place. They may have had some experiences that day, and you have to assume the best. It's amazing how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us to have the husna dhan, to assume the best. When you come in with that mindset that they may just be having a bad day, they didn't really mean it, and you assume the best, it really affects the way you feel. What I have seen is that when they hear a comment and they just immediately jump to the worst case scenario and they assume the worst and they react. The reaction is this is overreaction, which causes an explosion. It causes so many things to go wrong. And when they start practicing the husna dhan, when they start having a positive projection and they assume the best, then that is what changes everything around. And I want you to try that with your spouse. I know that you may be thinking, well, you don't know my spouse. You don't know what they have done. And that may be the case. I don't know your particular situation, but I can tell you that in all your relationships, if you have a more positive assumption, then everything is going to go so much smoother. Salam alaikum, sisters. Thank you. And brothers for joining in. So we're talking about the 3 ways to connect. So the first we said, assuming the best, and you really have relationship is a science. And when you study it, when you recognize that how people relate to one another, and overreacting is never the answer. When you take what the person is saying and you are more aware of your own patterns, because many times we bring in our old patterns, we bring in the negativity, maybe some unresolved issues, and a small issue gets out of control. Okay, so that's the first step. Second is listening without fixing. Listening without fixing. That's a hard one. Okay, I understand. I know that in the line of work I do, I have my fix it hat on, right? So I understand what it's like when someone tells you a problem and you feel like you have the answer, right? And I remember with one of my friends, she was telling me about a marriage issue, and I was just like, okay, here's what you do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And she said, Hala, sometimes I just want to vent. This was like 20 years ago. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. So it really makes a difference when you hear someone out. So if you give, let's say, 20 minutes, okay, 20 minutes to hear the complaint, the frustration, the hurt, whatever it is that they're going through without trying to fix it, right? In my marriage program, the 5 Pillars of Marriage, we have this really hilarious video, and some of you may have seen it, it's the wife has a nail, there's a nail in her head, and the husband, and she's saying, I have a headache, and the husband wants to say, just take the nail out. And you have to see it because it's hilarious in that sometimes you don't need to state the obvious. It's just being empathetic. Actually, it's a lot easier, right? Because many times we feel like, oh my gosh, I need to solve this problem. And it's not necessarily about solving it. It's about being present. It's about listening and hearing the individual out. And with the within the 20 minutes, you don't sit there silently, because I had a client come and say, I was really trying to be a great husband. My wife was so frustrated, and I gave her 30 minutes. She just talked, talk, talk, and I just stayed quiet. And at the end, she got mad at me. And he was so confused. And really, it's not about just sitting silently, right? Because you come across as being zoned out or uninterested. So you do have to participate. You do need to have comments. You need to have follow-up questions, maybe even repeating. So what I hear you saying is that you're very frustrated that I haven't been spending any time with you, or you're really upset that I'm always on the phone, or I'm always doing my work, or you don't feel like you're a priority. When you repeat what it is that your spouse is frustrated about, that's when the person feels hurt. But if you're just sitting there quiet for like 30 minutes, it makes the person feel like you don't care, right? So we got to make sure that we are projecting the right emotion and that we listen, because a lot of times it's just a matter of hearing the person out. What I see in the marriage coaching that I do, I see that individuals, they don't even give each other a chance to complete their sentences. I have to set the rules of, give that respect, allow your spouse to finish their thought, don't interrupt. And I do this consistently, and you find that sometimes in one session, people will follow that same pattern. So give that space, allow your spouse to express themselves, and be more patient. Be more patient. And respect is really about hearing the other person out and not speaking over them, not feeling like you have all the answers, not thinking that, I'm right and they're wrong and I'm going to fix it. So that is another important point, is give at least 20 minutes to hear your spouse out. And the third thing that I would recommend as a way to connect deeply with your spouse is spend time, right? There is a lot of emphasis on quality time. And you may be saying, you know what, we're spending too much time together, right? And there's a lot of frustration about people working from home or being in each other's space the entire time. But there's a difference between just being in the same space versus quality time. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. They are in the same room, and sometimes the wife is very frustrated and will say, I am right there. I don't understand what more he wants from me. He sees me all day long. But the husband will complain that we're not really connecting, right? She's just consumed with whatever it is that she's doing, or all her attention is on the kids. And it might be the wife complaining that, yeah, he's there, he's sitting there, but he's completely disconnected. So you need to be emotionally present, and you need to connect and have quality time. Quality times mean eye contact, right? You got to have eye contact. You need to be communicating. You need to be, in a sense, doing something that you enjoy. I would not call sitting in front of the TV quality time. That really isn't quality time. You could do that, but it's not quality time. So maybe going for a walk, maybe having a cup of tea together, doing some kind of activity. And even if it's 20 minutes a day, it doesn't need to be for hours and hours, but if you have that way of connecting on a daily basis, this is what keeps your relationship going really strong, because it's not about the amount of time that you're spending in the same space. It's about the emotional connection you're making. So if you prioritize the emotional connection, if you are really listening to your spouse, giving them that time to vent, not dismissing them, not making them feel like they are, they don't make any sense and you're wrong wrong to feel this way. Never, never, ever tell a person you're wrong to feel that way. Everyone has a right to the way they're feeling. And so when you listen with an open heart, open mind, and you practice positive projection, you have the husna then, you assume the best of your spouse, this is going to completely change your connection with your spouse. And so this is my reminder for the Marriage Mending Monday. And I really hope that all of you are able to, you're able to apply these points, because it really does make a difference. I have seen so many individuals come in, and even if they come alone, right, and they're not with their spouse, they make certain small changes. They learn certain marriage skills, and within a few sessions, their whole marriage is different, and they bring out the best in their spouse. So make it an effort, make your intention to improve your relationship, and inshallah that we can be of the people who learn an information, learn it, and apply it. Jazakallah khairan for tuning in. And tomorrow it's going to be Transformational Tuesday, same time. It'll be 12:30 p.m. Central. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.